Upadesamrta, verse 8. Tan-nāma-rūpa-caritādi-sukīrtanānu, smrityo kramena rasana manasi niyojya, tishtan vraje tadanuragi jananugami, kalam nayed akilamityupadeshasaram. Translation. While residing in Vraja under the guidance of a resident of Vrajadam, one should gradually spend all his time engaging the mind and tongue in chanting the holy name and remembering the Lord's divine form, qualities, and pastimes. This is the essence of all instructions. Illumination. There are 5 stages of the sadhaka. First is the hearing stage, Shravanadasha. The second stage is Varanadasha, acceptance by the guru and the disciple. Then Sadhanadasha, the attempt for realization, will begin. This stage is full of struggle. Up to Sadhanadasha, it is a little painful. Then Apanadasha, the stage of realization. That is very sweet, and one feels peaceful in bhava bhakti. Whatever pain is seen there is only apparent. Finally, there is Prapanadasha, attainment, the stage of full self-surrender and distribution to others. One is finally detached from relativity and enters into that divine connection. By analysis, these are the 5 stages of the sadhaka. Sometimes we may be misguided to think that we must not study books and analyze things. Why is this knowledge necessary? Gyan is anti-devotional. What is the necessity of knowing what is what? I shall go on chanting the name, and wherever there is any lecture explaining Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita, I will avoid that. That is all knowledge. Gyane prayasamudapasya namantameva. We may go on taking the name, and whenever there is some explanation about devotion, we try to avoid it. But this is not good, because if we hear from the proper source, we will get some sort of knowledge that gives us impetus for going on in our sadhana. When any illumination or revelation is coming through a real agent who is higher than us, we should be very earnest to hear those things. That will consolidate our position and help us to go ahead in our sadhana. That should not be eliminated as mere knowledge. That is Siddhanta. Who is Krishna? How he is Swayam Bhagavan? Who is Narayan? What are the 24 layers of misconception? What is Vaikunta and Goloka? Who is Baladev? What are the different rasas? If all these things are being explained, and I say, oh no, it is all Gyan, I must dismiss it and take the name, then this is foolishness. This should be considered as indolence. This knowledge will advance our faith most profoundly, and these sort of discussions should be automatically invited. 24-hour service. One Western gentleman once told that there are many conceptions of religion in different parts of the world, but we do not find any conception of religion where 24 hours a day can be devoted in the service of the Supreme Lord. Not only Sunday, not only twice in the day, not only thrice in the day, but every hour and second devoted in the service of the Supreme Entity, and nothing left behind. That is never to be found anywhere but Gaudiya Vaishnavism. This sort of service is only possible in Kirtaniya Sadhahari, and in the Ashtakalya Leela of Sri Krishna Chandra himself in the Madhurya Ras. Madhurya Ras is the total rasa, and the most intense of all rasas. It is all accommodating. 24 hours engagement in the service of Krishna is only possible in Madhurya Ras. There is the possibility of tiredness in all other rasas, even Vatsalya Ras. Sometimes the father or mother may think, I am too much tired, I make arrangements a little after. But in Madhurya Ras there is no such reaction. Of course, these things are of a very high order. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has shown, as Kaviraj Goswami has in his Govinda Lilamrita, the 8 praharas, 24 hours service. 1 prahara means a fourth part of a day or night. 24 hours are divided into 8 praharas, and that is known as Ashta Kalya. Vishwanath Chakravarti has written about this in his Sri Krishna Bhavanamrita. There he has given the Ashtakalya Leela in Radha Dasyam, how the she-friends and servitors of Radharani have their 24 hours duty in the camp of Radhika in her service. Radharani is already wholly given to Krishna, there is no question, and their 24 hours program is explained elaborately by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. However, Sri Krishna Bhavanamrita is for the higher students only. Bhaktivinoda Thakur also gives these things in Jaiva Dharma, but with much caution. We have gone through Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writings, but we did not miss his warnings. We must be practical in our attempts, for such things are not imaginary. Some Westerners think that Eastern philosophy is something like imagination, so they pass through it very quickly, without giving attention to so many steps. This means they are self-deceivers. One who desires real sincere improvement will not omit any steps. Shraddha, sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, anartha nivritti, nishta, ruchi, asakti, then bhava. They must be true to their own self, whether they have followed these steps. Ragamarg proper begins at bhava bhakti. Up to the awakening of real bhava, one must follow Vaidhi Bhakti and Anartha Nivritti in order to be sure that attraction for any charm of this material world has gone altogether. But those who are self-deceivers want it very cheaply. They want to buy very cheap food. Dhira means a master of his own senses. Only such a devotee is qualified to try to enter into this flavor, not those that are not masters of their own senses. Naitat samacharejjatu manasapi hyanishvara vinashyatyacharan modhyad yatharudrobdijam visham. One who is not a great controller should never imitate the behavior of ruling personalities, even mentally. If, out of foolishness, an ordinary person does imitate such behavior, he will simply destroy himself, just as a person who is not Rudra would destroy himself if he tried to drink an ocean of poison. From the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33-30. Due to ignorance, if anyone ventures to enter into this domain, even mentally, then, vinashyati, he will be doomed. If he is not Shiva, if he takes poison, he is sure to die. Shiva drank poison, but it became an ornament on his throat. But one who is not Shiva, if he takes poison, he will die. One who is not Dhira, and who has no control over their senses, if they venture to enter into this domain, they are sure to die. This warning is given in Bhagavatam by Shukadeva Goswāmī. It is nectar, but still you must come and take it properly. There is a possibility of mistaking it for your awkward enjoyment, and then you will be doomed forever. The higher literatures for the highly realized souls should not be propagated in a very broad way. They are only meant for a very select few who can come up to that mark and have entrance to discuss, think, and work according to that high direction. But the general requirement is Shraddha for Mahaprabhu, and Shraddha for Krishna consciousness. Madhurya Ras especially, and Parakiya, these two planes may be misunderstood by the general people. It is beyond their conception that we can relate with God as a wife or mistress. We may be able to accommodate a wife, but a mistress of God, is that possible? The conception of Godhead and the conception of his mistress at the same time are impossible to conceive for the ordinary intellect. Who will take such a risk? Our Guru Maharaj once told that there was one scholar in Dhaka University who used to teach Sanskrit literature to the postgraduate students, and there was one girl who was his student in that class. That gentleman was a good scholar, and he used to teach from the books written by Rupa Gosvāmī, Ujjvala Nilamani, etc. Prabhupada objected to this. What is he teaching? This is not for school students. Only the highest religious preachers have entrance in that domain, and he is taking it like this. Later it so happened that that gentleman had to marry that girl. When that happened, then our Guru Maharaj told that this occurred because that fellow did not understand the dignified position of Rupa Gosvāmī. Such high topics should not be brought very much to the ordinary people. It should only be kept for select people who are at the stage of Uddhava. Asamaho charanarenu jushamaham syam, Vṛndāvane kimapi gulma latho shadhinam, ya dhushtyajam svajanam patham chahitva, bhejur mukunda padavim shrutibir vimrigyam. My desire is to become a blade of grass or a creeper that grows in the forest of Vraja. In that way it will be possible for me to receive the dust of the feet of those great personalities who have worshipped the lotus feet of the great liberator, Mukunda. The dust of the feet of these great personalities is sought after even by the Vedas. Leaving aside the affection of their own kith and kin, which is ordinarily impossible to give up, the gopis of Vraja have sacrificed everything for the satisfaction of Sri Krishna. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1047-61. Svajanam arya patamcha. We must be willing to sacrifice the relationships of those whom we consider to be our own kith and kin, our own intimate friends. Aryapata, those who are recommended by the stalwarts or the leaders of the gregarious society should also be given up. So much risk. Who will come forward to take such a risk? A bad name, and even the least help we can expect from our nearest and dearest. All eliminated. Taking the fullest risk to cast towards one who is an autocrat, but beautiful. Such a degree of sacrifice was considered to be the highest, even by Uddhava, the greatest of the devotees whom Krishna himself described in his own words. Na tata me priyatama atmayonir na shankara, na cha sankarshano na shri, naivatma cha yatha bhavan. Neither Brahma nor Shiva, nor Sankarshana of Vaikuntha, nor the goddess of fortune Lakshmi Devi, nor even my own self is as dear to me as you. You are my favorite, Uddhava. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11:14-15. Uddhava speaks so highly about the gopis. Such things are not to be dragged into the ordinary intellect of the common audience. That is, Shrutibir Vimrigyam. Even the Vedas are only showing the direction, but they cannot fully express. It is the highest point of revelation. They can only point from a distance and show that Krishna Leela is the highest Leela on this side. We can't express that. This is the attitude of the revealed scriptures of the highest order. You should not venture to drag the whole thing into this mundane world. We must keep that on our heads. Pujala Pata Gaurava Bange. The very tenor of the preaching of our Guru Maharaj was this. He used to worship the Pata, the way of Raga, the highest love. He did not try to bring it down here. Hold this on your head, the Ragapata, the way of love to attain him. Tread all possible stages of learning with a respectable attitude about the Supreme. Always keep the highest form of love affairs above your head. Otherwise, if you think you have got that, you are finished. You are doomed. It is not so cheap. Don't try to make it very cheap. It is very difficult. Smaraṇa and Kīrtana. Some acharyas are of the opinion that Smaraṇa is more important than Kirtan, because Smaraṇa is exclusively connected with consciousness, or is more concerned with the subtle part of our existence. They feel that Smaraṇa is the most effective form of sadhana. But our Guru Maharaj, Jiva Goswami, and also Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu laid stress on Kirtan, especially for beginners. Our Guru Maharaj clearly said that Smaraṇa, in a lower position, is injurious. We should take to Sankirtana. Kirtana prabhave Smaraṇa hoibe, se kale bhajana nirjana sambhava. Smaraṇa can only occur by the power of Kirtan, and only at that time is solitary bhajan possible. From Vaishnav K, verse 19. When one is exclusively devoted and unconscious of the environment, then one may go on with his Smaraṇa within. But this is not at all possible for the beginners. Jiva Goswami Prabhu says, Yajjapi anya bhakti kalo kartavya tada kirtanyakya bhakti samyojhanenaiva. All other forms of sadhana must be subservient to Kirtan. This is the preaching of Mahaprabhu, because in Kali Yuga, Kirtan has its own characteristic. But if any acharya has stressed Smaraṇa anywhere, that only means that Kirtan is relative to the material environment, and Smaraṇa is independent of material consideration. From that point, they may have recommended that Smaraṇa is highest, but that is not accepted in a general way. The Sahajyas are fond of Smaraṇa rather than Kirtan. They are followers of the secluded life, and in their mind, they go on with Smaraṇa. They collect information about their age, their identification as a particular Saki, and her place of attendance in a particular Leela, under the guidance of a particular Saki, in a particular place in Vṛndāvana. All these things. They are required to go on meditating on these things with their so-called devotion. That is the process of the Sahajyas. But we do not attend to that. It is all imagination. They are not fit for that plane. They have not got any real sambandha gyan, or actual knowledge of their relationship with Krishna. They only go on with their habituated repetition of a particular mental speculation. The stage of anartha-nivritti and the progress based on that is not to be accepted by them. That thing which they achieve is a mere concoction. They are not aware of the actual facts. It is all self-deception, but they think it to be Smaraṇa. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj has given an example. Babaji Maharaj used to live in a very small hut on the banks of the Ganges. Another gentleman, imitating him, erected a similar cottage nearby, and he went on imitating Babaji Maharaj, doing madhukari, sitting and meditating, wearing his cloth in such a way, eating, not eating, taking bath, and some days not taking bath. Then one day Babaji Maharaj remarked, "Only by entering a labor room a girl does not produce a child. Many things are necessary beforehand." Simply by imitating a Paramahamsa, bhajan cannot be affected. The Sahajyas are laboring hard externally to produce some child, but our Guru Maharaj told that is not an easy thing. Muktanam apisiddhanam narayana parayana sudurlabha prasantatma kotishvapi mahamune. O great sage, among many millions that are liberated and perfect in the knowledge of liberation, one may actually be a devotee of Narayan. Such devotees who are most peaceful are extremely rare. From the Srimad Bhagavatam 6.14.5. Na utiya vriksho pari tanatani faladhari dushta phala karile arjana. If you want to collect the fruits by shaking the tree, but not by climbing the branches, then you will only get the fruits that are bad. From Kalyana Kalpataru 1.18. Imitation is not success. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that if one wants some fruits without taking the labor of climbing the tree, then what sort of fruits will he get? You have to climb the tree, and then you can get the fruit. Otherwise, it is only your imagination. Shuddha Sattva, the plane of pure goodness, means that one must have connection with the real plane, and there are so many planes. Upajya bhade lata brahmanda bedijai Virajha brahmaloka bedi paravyomapaya, tabe jai thadupari goloka Vṛndāvana, Krishna charana kalpa vrikshe kare arohan. The creeper of devotion sprouts and begins to grow until it penetrates the coverings of the universe, crosses the Viraja river, passes through Brahmaloka until it reaches the spiritual sky. From there it continues to grow until it reaches Goloka Vṛndāvana, where it wraps around the desire tree of Krishna's lotus feet. From the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 19:154. Mahaprabhu says that when the creeper of bhakti rises up to Goloka, she has to cross these planes. First, Bhur, Bhuva, Sva, Maha, Jana, Tapa, Satyaloka, and Brahmaloka. But the Sahajyas do not care to know what is Viraja, what is Brahmaloka, and what is the Brahmanda. They will only go to a guru, get some mantra, and go on meditating. But at such a stage, if they meditate on the Leela of Radha Govinda, then instead of Radha Govinda Leela, they will get entangled with the ladies and gents of this world. They will be entangled in the domain of lust, and will have to go to hell instead of going up to Goloka. Imitation is not success. Imitation degrades. The mind is another thing. The mind is not Śrīdhara, for Śrīdhara is connected with the soul, and the mind is connected with matter. The mind is material. The mind cannot produce Śrīdhara. Śrīdhara is an original, fundamental thing. When Śrīdhara awakens, the mind vanishes. Darkness cannot produce light. When light comes, darkness vanishes. Similarly, when truth comes, all mental speculation vanishes. There is subtle and gross. Bhumir apanalo vayu kam mano bhudirevacha. Earth, water, fire, and air are gross, and mind, intellect, and false ego are subtle. The mind is a product of the material potency, aparashakti, and the jiva is a product of the parashakti, the principal potency. Manodharma, mental speculation, has got nothing to do with truth. Manodharma is drawn from the material world, the world of misconception. Avan manasa gochara. The mind cannot reach to the stage of perceiving the truth proper. It is only related to mundane things. The mind comes from the false ego. It is made up of the exploiting tendency. We have to get relief from that. We are surrounded by such poisonous thoughts. Dhanam swadharmo niyamo yamascha shrutam cha karmani cha sadvratani sarve mano nigraha lakshananta parohi yogo manasas samadhi. Giving and charity, prescribed duties, observance of rules and regulations, hearing the scriptures, pious activities, and sacred vows, all these are undertaken to subdue the mind. Indeed, concentration of the mind is considered to be the greatest type of yoga. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, 11:23-45. All types of sadhana demands that the mind should be destroyed. Mano nigraha lakshananta. There may be different forms and types of sadhana, but they all agree on this point. The mind must be finished.